One of the things I had spent 3 days where I couldn't move. I would cry, I don't know, 7 times a day. And that's when I realized, like, this can't be it. You know what I mean? Like, how is this happening? Okay, she said, I'm gonna have my office call you and schedule it immediately. And they never called me ever to this day, not even to find out if I'm still alive. I was so sick. My daughter, started calling the doctor at night. She told me she was going to call 911. I'm like, no, because I was afraid of going to the hospital, because it is a very rare disease, and I knew no one would know what to do with me. So on the night I came back, they gave me the fluids, and I'm still going to work. Okay. So I would get to the office, I would call, my security guard. I can't carry my laptop anymore. And so he would wait for me. I would give him the laptop bag and all the stuff that we carry for work. And then it would take me about 15 minutes to recover from walking up. And that's when I realized, like, this can't be it. You know what I mean? Like, how is this happening? And then the next morning, which is Father's Day, I drove myself to the ER, and they told me your hemoglobin is at 6. We need to do a blood transfusion immediately. And I said no, because my doctor had already told me, like, you can't get a blood transfusion because then, the red blood cells are going to just explode, and whatever. So I refused it. And then I waited, I think maybe 2 more days to see her, because she was coming back from vacation. And when she finally saw my labs, she said to me, I am so sorry, I miscalculated your numbers, and you will need a blood transfusion now. Yeah, I said, well, how do you, I mean, they've been telling me, your team has been telling me that I was at 8, and then, I shouldn't be taking blood out. Did they reach out to you? And she said, yeah, but I really thought that because you have polycythemia vera, you would make so much more blood. So I wasn't concerned with that. I figured, we were following the right pace. So you were making blood at the same speed that I was taking out. So I don't think it should have been a problem. And that was the explanation I got. I was furious. I was furious because, and then she said, and once you get the blood transfusion, you're going to start making blood like crazy, and we're going to be back to the level that you were in January. And I mean, imagine after going through this every 2 weeks phlebotomies and all the pain and that, how am I going to go back to that? That didn't make sense to me. So I told her, look, and she said, we need to go right now. We need to put you in the ER. I said, no, I need some time. This is a serious, situation. A blood transfusion is something very serious. I need to talk to my family. I need to go home, and I need to think about this. And she was not very happy with me saying no, because I think she realized the responsibility of me just going home the way that I was, and so that's when I called her back, like on a Thursday. I spoke to her and I said, yes, okay, I'm gonna go through with the blood transfusion. Okay, she said, I'm gonna have my office call you and schedule it immediately. And they never called me ever to this day, not even to find out if I'm still alive. So then I started researching who had the best, hematology group for my condition. So I found, South Miami Hospital. I found Dr. Kim, who was in charge of blood disorders. And so I went to her hospital, but went through through the emergency. And then I was assigned to her from there. I got my blood transfusion, I think it was June 24th. And yeah, my hemoglobin went from 6 to 8 within, a few days. And then I was, with a new hospital, a new doctor, and went from there. So I was with Dr. Kim from June until last month, right? So end February. So what happened was she started giving me iron pills, because now we're trying to get me out of a very aggressive anemia where I have zero, to this day I have zero iron deposits. So she starts giving me the pills. She tells me there's no more phlebotomies for a long time. You can now fly because you have no blood. And, started kind of treating it in a very positive way. I was still very weak, but without the phlebotomies, of course, I start feeling a little bit more, a little bit stronger. I go back to work. I realized that I couldn't do a lot of physical activity, but I tried to walk a little, like maybe like 20 minutes a day, just to help me out. And everything was going fine, but we kept doing labs and my numbers, my hemoglobin was not moving, right? And my iron also. So I think we were able, all of last year, we were able to get it up to 9. That's it. I would be stuck at 9 or even a little lower, or go up to 9.5, but never more than 10, it was like 9 point something always. So when I left on vacation in December, she told me, when you return, we might have to give you iron infusions because I'm not getting anywhere with the pills. I come back from vacation. I start working, and January 21st, I'm sitting here with my family having a dinner, and I start seeing something very strange in my eye. And then the next morning I wake up and I see have a floater, a dark spot. I got very tired. My limbs felt tired, then I stayed in bed all Sunday. I panicked. I called Dr. Kim. By the way, Dr. Kim and her team, they would answer phone, email, everything within 2 minutes. So I tell her what's going on. She goes, you don't go to the ophthalmologist, you go to the ER. I went to the ER and she was already there. She came in immediately. I had MRIs done, my brain. So I had something called papilledema, which is like edema of the brain, which affected the eye. But what happened with all that was happening, probably because of all the anemia, is that they checked my numbers and my platelets were very high. They were like 740. And that's when she realized this isn't right. Her numbers are not responding and I need to do something. So she came and she told me, Natalia, I'm going to have to do another biopsy, which I was terrified. And I said, but no, she goes, it just doesn't make sense to me. I've been giving you iron for months and nothing changes. And now I see your platelets are up. This doesn't make sense. And so February 7th, I go through another biopsy, and she calls me 2 weeks later and says, you actually have primary myelofibrosis, not polycythemia vera. And so it makes sense because myelofibrosis, sometimes you're making a lot of red blood cells, sometimes you're making zero, and sometimes the problem is the platelets or the white blood cells. So whatever she was reading, because she had the other doctors, diagnosis and notes, was not what is actually happening. So the only thing that she's able to see from my former hospital is what I have in my chart, but she's never able to get my official medical records, even though I sent 2 letters to the hospital and I called the hospital and I spoke to I don't know how many people. So they never got my records. They don't answer anything. And then so they kept, I kept sending the letters because at one point I called and they said, if you send a letter, approved. I did that, like in the fall last year, nothing happened. So she said, look, I don't have, anything to compare, but the notes that are on there, but I actually need to see the actual, pathology exam that was done. So she was just under the assumption that whatever this doctor had put on her notes was, what was happening. Well, that was a very difficult week, very dark week. For one part, I was so happy to know that there was a path, and there was now things made sense to me, right? Um, I was told immediately that I wasn't going to stay with Dr. Kim anymore because she's a benign hematologist, and so I needed to go to another hospital and go to malignancies. So that was difficult because I was already very attached to Maria and Dr. Kim because they were awesome. Um, but they were so sweet. They're like, we're going to be with you until everything's done. The first thing they did is we need to do an iron infusion immediately. So I got an iron infusion. I also, they give me the options that are available with this situation. They have an amazing new medicine. I believe it's Jakafi, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And they also said, Miami has an excellent cancer center in Baptist, it's a brand new building, and it is just truly amazing what they're doing there. And they told me, you have the option of getting a bone marrow transplant, things get really, tough. And so they have a team there that does it. So that's also another, point that you feel, okay, great. And so we're going to refer you to this new doctor at this location. And of course, the next 3 days are terrible because you again are looking at everything possible on this condition. And I had spent 3 days where I couldn't move. I would cry, I don't know, 7 times a day. I live by myself, so it's not a good environment for someone that's going through this because I'm not hungry because of the anemia. I wasn't sleeping well. I was just in a very dark place. Of course, I'm just like, again, going into that little world from last year, And so I immediately thought, okay, I need to call someone. And so I knew that the one person that would have the time to go and, wake me up every morning and get me out of the house. So I called him and I said, hey, can you be here every day next week at 9 a.m. and just get me out of the house? I love biking, outdoors. And we would bike until like 12 minutes. Then I would have to sit down, catch my breath, for the return. And then he would help me prep food. So we went and got like Mediterranean diet because I saw my new doctor, the new hospital sent me like a Zoom meeting where they told us what to eat, medicine, food is medicine. And that week I was able to bike 4 times a week. And I decided, the biggest thing that helps, of course, is the exercise because it helps with the joint pain. Once I got the infusions, I stopped eating ice since last week, so I'm really excited. So that helps me sleep through the night a lot better. If you're having the hot flashes, which you will have with these conditions, they sell like these covers for your mattress that are cold. And pillow. The item that I bought helped me so much. What I think is, or my spiritual beliefs are, you have to fight for every inch of life that you can get, even if it is less than normal, and if it is, painful sometimes, or most of the time, because you're here to inspire, you're here to love, you're here to get your children through difficult situations. You're not here just to live and breathe. You're here to affect other people. All of us affect each other. I mean, you guys affected my life in such a positive way. This is what we do. So I said, whatever it is I need to do, I'm going to do it. Don't believe the worst possible case scenarios, we're all different. We all react to things differently. So just focus on how you feel. How does that energy of that person makes you feel in the case of a doctor when they offer you things? But feelings are very important, especially when you're going through this. If you go to someone and they make you feel inaccurate, they discard your symptoms as not important. I had gone to a cardiologist different from Dr. Mechanic that year, and he had told me there was nothing wrong with me. And so you know when people are paying attention to you. Pay attention if they're making eye contact. Pay attention if they're looking at their watch and they're in a hurry. You can fire your doctors. And I learned this, and it is the best thing to learn. If it makes you feel weird, it doesn't feel right, walk away, say no respectfully. I mean, she told me, let's go for, the blood transfusion right now. I said, no, I need time, and give yourself that time, because there will come a time when you say, I'm ready for whatever it is, but don't let anyone rush you into anything. It's your body, it's your life. The other thing is work. We kind of feel like we're indispensable and we have to be there. And that was my first, struggle. I need to go back to work. I need to go back to work. Even though we have remote work, and that's helped me so much. My company gives us 2 days of remote work a week. So I've been able to keep my job because of, that opportunity. Talk to the people around you, talk to your boss, talk to your assistants, talk to your coworkers. You don't have to give them details. You just need to let them know, hey, there are certain things. I told my boss, hey, there's certain things that I'm not very good at right now, which is like events. I can't, I can't do certain activities in the sun, for example. I can't take direct sunlight. So I changed a little bit my lifestyle, but I let people know. I let them know I'm a little different now. I'm still me, but we're going to have to do things a little different. So I think that's my advice. I got so much support after I started speaking up and saying, if you stay silent, I'm not going to help you. At the beginning, I was like, I'm not going to bother people with this, and I'm not going to tell them about that. And then you're the one that is going home hurt and sad, and they're not to blame. They don't know what you're feeling. So speak up, let people know. We're all made of energy. So energy is the most important thing. Be around people who present that energy. There are people that are going to come and look at you, and you're going to tell them what you're going through. But because you look fine and you have hair and you don't look like you're very ill, they're going to just tell you, well, so and so has this disease and they're fine. Do not listen to that. It is you, and you are a unique human being, and only you know how you feel.